This is NTV.
All right, a very good morning to you. It's good to see you on this Thursday morning. I hope that you are well. It's actually, when is it today? 8th. It's the 8th day of June, and of course the month is still pretty much young. So welcome to the show. My name is Winnie Lubem, and of course we have a lot to cover today as far as the rights of the child, and especially the African child, and this is in the digital environment. How do we protect them? How do we make sure that in as much as we want them to have access, and especially when it comes to the digital space, they are also safe at the same time? Because as we all know, that children and young people are spending more and more time online, and as connectivity has become an integral feature of our everyday lives, it has become essential to online learning and provides children and young people with immense opportunities that the previous generation did not have growing up, and this is access to information and online. So despite the many benefits that the internet has provided, how do we ensure that our children are safe online, and at the same time, how do we protect their rights in the digital environment? That is our subject of conversation today, so you want to stick around until the end of the show. You want to contribute in one way or the other, maybe share a story, maybe share a comment, and especially feedback as far as how we protect our children in the digital environment. You know the drill by now. At NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter is how you can reach us, or better yet, give us a call. Our lines are open, and let's chat ways in terms of making sure that they are safe even as they peruse or browse the internet. All right, and of course, to help us with that conversation, we have Peter Ombasa, who is Assistant Director, Children's Services, National Social Protection Secretariat. Good to have you this morning. Karibu sana. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you so much for inviting me here.
Karibu sana. And of course, we also have Joel Kamakil, who's a Child Protection Specialist, Compassion International Kenya. Good to have you this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well.
Karibu sana. Karibu sana. And of course, I'm sure both of you very passionate about children and helping them, making sure that they are safe, right? Because there's a lot that is happening right now that has put our children more at risk of so many things, you know, from cyberbullying to attacks to, you know, being lured into like pornographic, you know, sites and all those things. So we need to make sure that they are safe because we cannot deny them access to the internet. But Peter, before that, because June 16th, right, is the Day of the African Child, and of course we'll be celebrating that. Before that, there's something that will be happening tomorrow. Yes. Will tell us more on the same. But Peter, can we just first of all get to understand where are we at? Because for a very long time, there has been a lot of conversations around access and how many kids, first of all, have access to the internet, because we all understand, even now, majority of the children are still learning online. So how are we doing, first of all, as a country? Let's just start with the basics.
Thank you so much, and I'm happy to be here. It's the first time that I've been here. But it's good to start from history so that we are able to understand where we are coming from. Yeah. First, the Day of the African Child is a culmination of what transpired in 1978 on 16th June, 1976 to be precise. And it was an uprising of children in South Africa, Soweto, about the learning. Okay. They wanted to learn well using their languages, and that culminated in a protest, and so many were injured, some were killed. And coming closely, in 1991, the Organization of African Union, that time, nowadays is AU, sat and said, all right, for us to remember this day, we need to have a very particular day for us to be able to celebrate as Africans, because this is Africa, we have our own challenges. Therefore, they passed in a resolution that 16th June will be a day of the African child. Yes. Having said that, the theme of this year's celebration is children in the digital world. But what are statistics telling us? As at May 2022, around 590 million users were using the internet. Roughly around 43% were in Africa. Okay. And though Africa is not very well penetrated, but then we realize that, yes, we are able to have the internet. But that is not the only thing that keeps us here. There was a survey that was done by organizations in Kenya. One of it is Disrupting Arm in Kenya. And the survey of about 1,014 people between the age of 12 and 17, around 14% had access to the internet. Right. This is very surprising, and those were only children. Then there's also the anti-human trafficking report about the online sexual exploitation and abuse. This also has got staggering information about that. This, together with the COVID, really we realize that children and everybody now uses the internet.
That's true.
But how safe are we? That is a question that we ask ourselves. How safe are we, adults first, and then we come to children?
And even knowing how to navigate this, because I am pretty sure, and especially for the previous generations. I mean, we know that Gen Zs were born into the internet, really, and even the generation Alpha, which will be coming after Gen Zs, that one is like a completely different conversation altogether. But the previous generations, I'm sure there's some parents maybe who are watching us this morning and thinking, I really don't care about these internet things and you know, how to navigate and all those things. But someone was saying it's high time that parents also, you know, make sure that they have the know-how at the very least to understand what the children are looking at when it comes to the internet. So when you're talking about the adults and the knowledge and the level, you know, of awareness as far as, you know, just browsing through and understanding these features and the risks that come with the same, I think it's important, you know, that all the parents understand the same. But do you want to give us more statistics, or we could go to Giles very quickly?
Just two quick statistics that I have. It was done by UNICEF, and I think 10% of African children in the lowest quintile, of course in West Africa, are basically using the internet. And of course 13% of those in East Africa are using the internet, meaning that the exposure is tremendously high. And unfortunately, do we have laws that try to cover or even stop certain sites for children and of course for grown-ups? This is a discussion that we want to have as a country, and see how then can we as a country try to safeguard these particular sites so that they don't reach our children.
Absolutely. Yes. And we'll also talk about their rights as well, because majority of the times, and even here in the country, we're too quick to talk about our rights, right? But how well do we understand our rights? And of course, that translating to the children, how well, first of all, do they understand their rights and their right to protection? And especially when we're talking about the internet. But very quickly, Jal, I wanted to react to the statistics that Peter has given us this morning. What do you make of it? Does it concern you? Does it, you know, what exactly does it say to you?
It does concern us and concern me as a child protection specialist. Why? Because it means that children are exposed to opportunities that are available on the digital environment, but they are also exposed to the risks that are available therein. So as a child protection specialist, and particularly my organization, which is Compassion International, we are an advocacy organization that works in partnership with the churches to ensure that children are protected. And it is important for me to highlight that we work in the with families that are living in poverty. So the space that we are in is providing access to these children. But even as we provide for them access to the opportunities available in the digital environment, we are not blinded to the fact that there are risks there. So as an organization, we provide education to the children so that they are equipped to know how to protect themselves in that space, And also we provide education also to the caregivers and their parents, because we believe that the caregiver, that parent, has the sole responsibility of giving protection to their child. So ensuring that this, both the child and the parent are equipped with the right skills and the knowledge to navigate the environment.
So then in your view, what are the skills that are required, especially now? Yes, the children, it's important, you know, for them to have the skills, but more so for the caregivers and for the parents and the guardians and even the teachers, because again in schools, right, they also have access to the internet as well. So what are some of the skills that are very necessary in this space, you know, now that we're encouraging a lot of children to, you know, at least have the knowledge and the know-how on how to navigate the internet, but at least have these necessary skills?
Well, some skills that they should have is, for example, simple basic skills. Do not share your personal information with a stranger online. Do the children know that? And should a child experience any concerning behavior online, do they know where to report, how to report? Do the caregiver know where to report? Should the child report that? And another skill that the caregivers can have is create a very conducive relationship and environment at home, where should the child access or experience any abuse online, that they should be able to tell their parent. But a lot of parents, me included, we, when a child reports to you or something concerning online, we are very quick to stigmatize them, to victimize them. So those are some of the skills that we need to equip our parents, caregivers with, so that children feel safe to report.
Absolutely. Understand and come from a point of empathy. Yes, go ahead, Peter.
Maybe just to complement what she's just said, and this should be known very carefully, that unlike parents, children are more techno-savvy than most of the parents.
All right.
The question that we need to ask ourselves always, and as always, is how sure are we as parents that the sites or the gadgets our children have is safe? And that boils down to parenting.
Okay.
How do we parent our children? How quick are we to react? How fast are we to compliment? And how sure are we in the way we are handling them in case there's a mistake?
Okay.
This, unlike other countries in Africa, and especially three countries stand out very, very clearly, South Africa, Ghana, and Kenya.
Right.
Of course, they've done tremendous reports that talk about child protection. And for us as a country to be able to manage the child very well, both the rights and the responsibilities, there's need for us as adults and of course as parents to understand the child first. Let us understand what the child wants.
Okay.
That does not mean that you spare the rod. No. It all means that let the parent understand what the child wants.
Right.
And of course correct at the right time and at the right place.
Okay.
That is the only way then that we can manage our problems online.
Okay.
Yes, there are things that will be difficult. For instance, I might not be able to operate my phone. Okay. For that matter, I'll give it to my daughter.
Help
please, can you get me the site? I don't know what will pop up. Okay. Because I don't control the space. Anything can pop up. That is what we need to. That conversation needs to come out between parents and children.
And the children, understanding them. And since we're talking about the African children, I think let's just talk a little bit about the African parents as well. And we all know how sometimes some of them might be really quick to react. You know, like we're saying, a child comes to you and tells you, hey, someone so-and-so sent me this, right? Or I was browsing, I was just maybe looking for some sort of like information, but this is what I came across. But the first thing or the first reaction is, we're all going to tafuta nini huko, right? So it becomes the child's fault that they have encountered what they have encountered on the internet. So the next time this child wants to talk to you about anything, they really won't, because of the reaction that you gave them. So that understanding and for the parents to also sort of like be empowered as well.
Yeah.
And Peter, you were talking about policies, which again, I think we'll talk about it more in depth, because again, like we keep saying, right here in the country, we have some of the best policies, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, when it comes to implementing these policies is where there's a very, very big problem. So then how do we make sure that, yes, the policies are there, but they are also working for us? But before that, can we first of all then address some of these inequalities, Jael, that maybe you have come across? Because, and right here in the country, there's some people, and especially children, who are able to get information, I mean, as soon as having these devices, right, on their hands.
Correct.
But then again, in some areas, that is not possible. They don't even have, first of all, phones to communicate with in the first place. So can we address how much of a challenge this inequalities pose as far as access, which we said we do not want to have some African children being left behind?
And true, the disparity is big. Yeah. So as an organization, we have provided over 8,000 digital devices to these children that are being sponsored through the organization. Recently, over 14,000 children were able to access these devices. And so what are they accessing? They're accessing quality education materials through these devices. They're accessing spiritual content that is wholesome. And so we are trying in our way to reduce that divide, the disparity that is available.
All right. So how are you doing this? By providing some of these materials that the children need, and also the skills that is required?
Yes, we provide financial support to the churches that we partner with. So the churches are able to buy these digital devices. Also, we have developed curriculums, child protection curriculum for the children and even for the parents and the caregivers that are able to equip them to know how to navigate them around the digital environment. And also the workers, the child development workers in the church are able to be trained online on how to navigate, to identify online sexual exploitation among the children. We have quite a number of courses available, even for you and me to access.
Which is very much
just to
important.
complement on what she has said, and of course your question about inequality. Sometimes we ask ourselves, of course, internet is the best.
It's good.
It just come, and you know, we have to live with it.
And it's not going away.
It's not going away.
It's getting better.
better. That space is there to stay.
It's our reality now.
But what about the issue we talk about access? What about the value and what is the content that is generated outside there? So things that we need to have a very candid, clear discussion about. In Africa, in Kenya, connectivity could be in the region of 70%. But if you go to Kibish, how many children have the access to internet?
It's very few.
Very few. During COVID, all the schools, all the education was relied online. Were they advantaged? No, they were disadvantaged. This is the issue of access we're talking about. Now, of course, what is the content
that they are accessing as well?
They're watching, what they are able to access. This is some of the things that we need to candidly have a discussion about. As we celebrate this day, let's look at policies, programs, and legislations that will allow us then to clip some contents that are not very child-friendly, so that we are able, as government, to be able to pass the information that is only relevant to that particular age group. But is this practically possible? This is a question that we need to ask ourselves, because it's a space for everybody.
That's true.
How the space is controlled, it's about regulations, policies that are sometimes above the studio. But this, we can still be having a discussion that, of course, for this particular age group, please, let the gadgets have this particular content.
Absolutely.
Let it not exceed that.
But
what happens at home? Allow me to talk about parenting.
Very quickly, before we go on a break, okay? Go ahead.
Just quickly.
The
State Department for Social Protection has another arm called the Department of Social Development. I've developed a very good parenting manual. Very good parenting manual. That is going to be rolled out in all the 47 counties. talks about how you can positively parent a child, and how you're able then, in case of 1, 2, 3 issues, how you are going to address it.
Yeah.
It's better placed in the Department of Social Development, because they're the ones who developed it, plus of course partners, and it's going to be rolled out. Okay. Of course it will assist us, especially handling our children at home.
So some people might be very happy, and especially for the first-time parents. This I don't know whether it's like a joke or a saying where people usually say, parenting does not come with a manual, so maybe they might be happy to hear.
Thank you so much.
What a manual that will help them to parent their children. But let's take a break. But of course, when we come back, we'll also focus more on the policies and legislation, and also the implementation of the same, so that again we protect our children, and even as they navigate, the digital space. But again, like we said, if you have a question or a comment at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on Twitter, is how you can reach us. So better yet, our lines are open, so give us a call. But we're coming back from the break with more on the conversation. Stay with us.
What made you decide to become a doctor?
Because my father needed one. And you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be happy like you.
Life insured is love assured.
My skin is my identity and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins. Helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks. For your shade of beautiful.
Furahia maisha bora, linda jamii yako, linda biashara yako. Chukua bima leo. Tuna bima ya maisha, afya na ajali, mali hata elimu. Chukua bima leo. Linda jamii yako, linda biashara yako. Chukua bima leo. Tuna bima ya maisha, afya na ajali, mali hata elimu. Chukua bima leo.
It's your lies that killed everything.
Lube, I already explained it to you. Tell me how else can I tell you about jail? I didn't want to lose you.
A criminal and a liar will always and forever stay a criminal and a liar. A wonderful husband, a cozy home, a rich life, and soon you'll have a baby.
Others may be okay with that, but not me. There will always be something to strive for in life.
So what should I do now? Go by another name, play the role of the sister which I hate, and pretend I am fine with all of that?
2 out of 3 Kenyan parents felt that they don't spend enough quality time with their kids. You can help change this by giving a generous voice to Storytime. Visit our library of homegrown audio stories at cadbury.africa and make Storytime sweeter.
9 out of 10 lung cancer deaths are caused by first-hand or second-hand tobacco smoking.
The first cigarette I smoked in 1971. This was due to peer pressure.
Every cigarette has got multiple types of chemicals which can cause cancer.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the device that you're using now?
This device is called an electrolarynx machine. I was introduced to this machine when I went to India.
How do you keep your toilets clean?
I use normal detergent and bleach for washing.
The detergent and bleach cleanless can leave behind yellowness, rust, and germs. Harpic's 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergents and bleach, and kills 99.9% illness-causing germs in your toilet, including the COVID-19 virus.
It's the headquarters of good vibes. So I should just kneel and begin to call on Jesus because I'm a
bishop. You know, Dr. Kingori, yes, you sound like a street fighter. Where did you grab it? Unataka noma.
Kingori, let me tell you something. Mimi mtu angenipata saa hiyo nikiwa first year. Angeangukia bibi mzuri.
You know, they always say smart women, where to catch them is with love.
Kingori, I love how your suit looks. I love you in a suit. I love you in a t-shirt.
As in any example, ama you actually mean that? Maifungua akili ya msee ama kichwa ya msee ukapata vile watu husema huyu jamaa ana akili.
Tunaweza toa nyama kwa huko nyuma tuweke kwa
kifua. Sisi mtu anakuwa na roho chafu sana. Na ukidive inahesabiwa?
Si ndio, ukiwin, udive win, si umewin.
Hiyo ndio tizi unafaa upige. Napiganga tu tizi ya 90 meters ya kwanza, alafu nikifika 90 meters na fly. Every Friday on NTV 7:30 p.m.
Wicked Edition in association with Showmax.
I invited Robert today for my sisters to meet him.
Hi! Wait a minute. I know that beard.
Cascadia Apartments at Two Rivers Development in Nairobi with a Madaraka offer till 30th June 2023. Price start from 9.2 million. Call us today on 0742 342 722 or text Cascadia to 22365.
All right, welcome back. The show is Your World, 34 minutes past the hour. Really time flies. But of course, today is all about a conversation on the rights of the child in the digital environment. And remember, like we're saying, this is in preparation, ahead of the Day of the African Child, which is usually marked every 16th day of the month of June. So the big question is then, how do we ensure that, first of all, our children have access, all right? And this is as far as the digital space is concerned. But at the same time, how do we make sure that they are protected as well? Because we do not want anyone to be left behind, because according to UNICEF, 2.2 billion or 2/3 of children and young people aged 25 years or less do not have internet access at home. So we do not want, a bigger chunk of this. But I mean, we all know a bigger majority of these are, in the continent. So that how do we make sure that, first of all, we keep up, okay? But again, make sure that our laws, the laws that we have, very good laws, out there as far as protecting our children, are also implemented. And of course, to help us with that, we have Peter Ombasa, who's Assistant Director, Children's Services, the National Social Protection Secretariat, as well as Jael Kamikil, who's a Child Protection Specialist from Compassion International Kenya, here today to help us with that conversation. But Jael, again, I think we're talking about this during the break, where there's so much that I think a parent or a guardian or a caregiver can do, right? And this is as far as protecting their children. There's one parent, I think, was it a parent we had here on the show, and they said, number one, if it's possible to delay this children, first of all, giving them gadgets. So if you can delay that as much as possible, 16, 18, 20, maybe, if that's possible, do it. But another person was saying, no, give them these devices, but and do not uninstall anything at all these social media platforms or these sites. Do not uninstall anything on your device. Have them, have access to all of them. But what you need to do is regulate how much time they're spending on the device and what areas they are accessing. I don't know what you think about these two schools of thought as a parent, but as also a child protection specialist.
As a parent,
okay,
I swing at both
between
ways.
The two.
Between
okay.
the two.
All
Why?
right.
Because there's an age in which I wouldn't recommend that children have access to the devices.
Okay.
But as soon as the child is of school-going age,
all right,
then it is important that we provide them access to these devices.
Okay.
Because as we had said earlier, we are in that digital space. This is the world in which they are growing in.
Yeah.
So denying them that access is denying them their rights. Because remember, children have a right
yes.
to association and to express themselves even in that digital space.
Okay.
So I wouldn't deny.
Okay.
But then also I wouldn't allow a child below 5 years, when they've not gone to school, I wouldn't recommend.
Okay.
So as a child protection specialist, what would I say in that space?
Okay.
As a parent, it is important you know what content are these children accessing in the digital
But remember, they're very crafty. I mean, and also Peter acknowledged this and said, listen, these children are just, I mean, a 3-year-old child is able to unlock your phone. You have not given them your password, but they're able to unlock your phone and access this, you know, sites. So it's just difficult, you know. There's only so much that you can do. You can offer guidance as a parent, but you cannot control everything that they are doing on the site. So it's a bit of a gray area. Don't deny, but also don't give them too much freedom. Peter, I wonder what you have to say.
I don't know. I have a different school of thought. The issue is delay versus deny.
Yes.
If you delay, the peers will give them. If you deny, they will take it by force. So, which is the better option? That's one thing we need to ask ourselves very candidly. That if you deny this particular child that gadget, the possibility of you, I am sure most of our parents, around 60–70%, have got a digital TV in their house.
Oh yes.
And even the cartoons that they see, some of them are a little bit lousy. Now, the issue of delaying does not arise.
Okay.
And even denying is the worst pill. So we must look for some kind of a very delicate balance, whereby we deny them in a very humane way, or even delay delay access in a very structured manner.
Okay.
So that even if you delay, you tell them, okay, I'm delaying, but because of this reason.
Okay.
I'm denying you because I think it has a negative effect more than you think.
And especially mentally, really, you know, because we see them getting addicted to the devices, spending a lot of time on the devices, and of course the content, again, like we're saying, impacts them one way or the other. There's someone who was saying, you know, it impairs their growth at some point. There's also the mental side, because again, their attacks, you know, the insults, cases of cyberbullying as well, that affects them mentally as well. So it's a tight balance, I would say, for all the parents and the caregivers as well. So before we talk about policies, Peter, can we quickly, Jill, talk about some of the rights? And first of all, what rights do children have, number one? How well do they know it? And the caregivers, the parents, you know, peers, teachers, everybody who's involved, who has more of like a supervision role, need to understand as far as this right, so that we know that if we do this, we're actually denying this child their right.
Okay. In the digital environment,
space,
so one of the rights that the children have is the right to education.
Yes.
So as we've said, the digital environment provides them that platform. So we need to be aware that even with the new competency-based curriculum, there's a lot of learning happening on that space. So we need to be aware that that is the space that these children are living in, and provide them with access to this content. They also have a right to association. Because in the digital environment, you're able to connect the social platforms, Instagram and all. So that is a right that they can access on the digital environment. And then the right to expression, allowing them that.
So is age a factor when we're talking about this right? Because again, like you were saying, someone who's like under 5, they might not fully understand their rights, number one, but also how to navigate the space, which can be a bit of a you know, of a risk in itself, because of, you know, everything that happens on the. So is age a factor?
Yes, indeed, age is a factor, because remember, children do not have the right to give consent. So that is a space, as Mr. Umbasa is saying, that we need to have conversations around. How do we provide a very safe environment for children to be able to access their rights on the digital environment without at the same time infringing on them. So that calls for a lot of us, the stakeholders involved, the government, the caregivers, and even the internet service providers. I think it is important that we hold them accountable, because they have that the ability to restrict, and even regulate the content that keeps popping up in the device.
And I mean, we have like child-friendly sites as well, and some sites would actually ask you for consent, ask you, are you 18 years, you know, or below. So there is a bit progress there, but again, there's so much that really needs to be done too.
There's so much to make sure that
that children are protected even as they enjoy the digital space. All right, so Peter, then can we talk about the laws? Because in the country, you have like the cyberbullying, you know, right? We have a law on the same, but at the same time, we see these things, and even on the internet, really. I mean, on Twitter, we see children being bullied, right? We're seeing children being, you know, like harassed and all those things. But sometimes we don't see arrests, or we'll see arrest has been done, and then that's it. No one is being persecuted, you know, for the same. So Peter, again, when it comes to these laws and how well they're being implemented in the country, where are we at? What are some of these gaps that we need to fill as soon as now?
Thank you so much. The Children Act that was signed into law in 2022 has stipulated a raft of rights. And of course responsibilities. At the same time, it has given very many sections that are supposed to be followed to effectively enhance this law. You've just said briefly about child-friendly spaces, whereby you are asked whether you are 18 and above or otherwise. Good question, but where was the content developed? That's another thing we need to ask ourselves, because it could be developed in the West, where the content of the West does not fit the content of Africa.
That's true. That's
so
true.
These are some of the things we need some candid discussions, very good conversations, that yes, there could be child-friendly, but are they friendly to Africa? There are things that we are not used to, but they are used
in the
somewhere
West.
else. So these are some of the things that we need to ask ourselves. Regarding on whether there are laws or not, I want to take you back to Violence Against Children report that was done in 2019. It came up with very staggering statistics, a lot, especially on sexual exploitation, physical abuse, emotional abuse. And of course, it tiered mitigation measures, about six of them. And these are documents that assist us in terms of making sure that we are able to address the issues of children. But having said that, the question you asked, whether are we able to implement?
But even before we talk about implementing these laws, the gaps, right, as far as these laws are concerned, what are some of the things that you have, you know, seen and that needs to be strengthened or to be worked on, or even to be changed a little bit, so that it fits the needs of our children, especially in this day and age?
Thank you so much. Remember, we had a Children Act in 2001. That was replaced with the one with 2023, which is a better version. Took into consideration quite a number of things that were not there in the 2001 Act. The online was not there, it's now in the Act. The counties were not there, they're now in the Act. The administrative arm were not there, they're now in the Act. The alternative family division, family care of children is now in the Act. Children living in institutions and then reunited back to families, it's now there. All these are already in the Act.
Very good.
But the issue that we need to ask ourselves, of course, plus other acts, the Data Protection Act, of course, the Penal Code, and of course, the Constitution, all of them are there to be able then to safeguard the child. The issue asked me whether there are gaps or not. I think I wouldn't want to enter into that space so much. But I want to say that we are doing our level best.
Okay.
There are different arms of government.
Our
arms is to identify. Our arms is to identify, okay, this is a violation.
Yeah.
The next arm is judiciary.
Okay.
The other arm is the police and the rest. We are collaborating effectively with all the arms of government. The downward effect or the resultant effect is supposed to be a conviction. Of course, it takes time.
Yeah.
So many things happen in between. Sometimes the case is thrown out, or so many things come.
Or the child
between.
becomes an adult.
Occasionally, the child becomes an adult.
Yes.
And these are issues that we are trying to discuss with the judiciary. Please fast track the cases, and of course, they are doing tremendous work.
Okay.
Of course, in the last 6 months, good work has been done.
Okay.
Cases are never going past 3 months, and we are happy about that. And of course, this is the direction we need to take. If there's a law, let's execute the law as per the provisions of the law. And that way we can be able to make sure that the child is safer, whether in the home, or in school, or in any other environment.
Or in the digital environment.
Yes,
like
because there are laws that cover that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Allow me to chime into that. When you talk about the gaps, we need to acknowledge the efforts that the government has done.
Yeah.
The National Council for the Administration of Justice, the Standing Committee, has been working behind the scene just to provide a coordinated approach to take care of the children in the justice space.
All right.
So there's a lot happening, which the public might not be privy to, but I want to acknowledge that a lot is happening. And so the fact that they're ensuring that as soon as a child gets into the justice environment, that they are well taken care of holistically.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And earlier on, you also talked about reporting, and especially for the child, where they need to report, how they need to report as well. Do you want to just take us through the same, so that then everybody knows, and especially when it comes to the parents and the caregivers as well? Yeah.
Even as I respond to that, one of the things that we need to be aware of is there's a lot of underreporting of abuse and violence against children.
Yeah.
So why is that so? Number one, as we had talked about earlier, the role and the critical role of that caregiver or that parent, that adult in the life of this child. Are they aware that and skilled to be able to be empathetic to the child, so that the child is able to report that abuse to them? Secondly, when we are talking about underreporting, do we know the available reporting platforms? We have Childline Kenya, a toll-free number 116 that needs to be publicized so that children all across the country get access to this, that they know that they can make the report on that line. We also have 1195. Is this number readily available? Is the community, the public aware of these numbers? So we need to create awareness around how to report cases. Yes.
All right, and make sure that everybody is privy to the same. All right, Peter?
Unfortunately, I always have statistics. It's quite unfortunate. 56.6% of all violent cases are never reported. Very bad statistics. Not that they don't know. This 116, 1195, all of them are there. I think as we grow in Africa, we need to have a single number, the way the West they have 911. That you can call and just all the services.
Unfortunately, that is what we know. The majority of the people know. And sometimes some people attempt to dial that.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
That is the direction maybe we'll take as we grow in Africa. Whereby one line can be able to serve the entire spectrum of trouble. Whether it's fire, accident, child, and everything. And of course, the services will be diverse, and of course, you'll be
very responsive.
And of course, the response rate is also very high. Having said that, the reporting for the Department of Children Services is basically on 116, and this is a 24-hour line, and you can be served any time of the day and the night. There's also always standby counselors, and of course standby vehicles in case there's an emergency. They can come and pick you or pick the child for that matter. This has never been told to the public, and of course public should be aware that that number is existing. It can pick you anytime, anywhere in Kenya, of course. It might not maybe airlift you, but somehow we have satellite offices that are able to also support you. Also coupled with that, we have, in all the sub-counties in Kenya, we have an office for the Department for Children's Services. They are there, of course, they work from 8 to 5. They are able to handle all matters. But the Department of Children's Services is a little bit a department that is given a little bit more time. So timing is not an issue. They can even work at night. Cases of children do not wait, unfortunately. They have to be sorted out.
They should not wait.
They don't wait, unfortunately. Anytime you have a problem, and you can call even the sub-county commissioner. Sub-county commissioner will call the sub-county children officer, and of course the sub-county children officers will be able to arrest the situation as fast as possible. That is how it works. But then, in Africa, do we see reporting as an issue?
No.
Some of the things we need to talk about.
Unfortunately,
some things are done in the homes, and it's not even essential to report according to Africa. But these are things that when you wake up in the morning, you get the child's hand is broken, and it was broken yesterday at night. How can we enhance the advocacy mechanism so that parents and children can be able to report on the 116?
And I'm just going to throw that question to you. Because at the end of the day, and especially because, like you're saying, there's so much that is happening at homes, in families that, I mean, you talked about 56%, of these cases are not reported, which is just sad. So then the big question is then, what, is the State Department doing? And also when it comes to using or utilizing the Nyumba Kumi, just to see that if anything happens to this child, we are able to report that, maybe use the chief, the assistant chief, or whoever is available to make sure that they are aware that this is happening and take the matter forward.
Quick response. We have 2 levels of government, both the national and the county. And fortunately, we are in close discussion with both the county and, of course, the national government on how to address issues that pertain to the child. And at the national government, our lowest known unit is a sub-chief. Of course, the sub-chief now moves to the Nyumba Kumi. It is a structure that is maintained by the sub-chief. But how quick are we able to make sure the chief understands and the sub-chief understands? These are things that we always build capacity as the Department of Children's Services, day in, day out, either through trainings, through public barazas, through any other means, together with the civil societies who are also working around that particular area. We always team up as a State Department to be able then to address issues that are related to the child at that particular lowest level of government. Under the county governments, which we are still negotiating and trying to discuss, they have got certain structures also, the ward and the rest. They also have their own social workers. We are teaming up with them so that we can all work as a team to enhance the visibility and the plight of the children within that particular lowest region. You realize that the county governments, the biggest is a ward. The smallest award. Ours in the national government, the smallest is a sublocation.
Sublocation, okay.
So that's the smallest. To them, it's a ward. So how then we are going to work is something that we are trying to negotiate and, of course, discuss. We are having the conference that they are holding. Of course, there will be a mini conference for children, which I hope you'll be there to also raise certain concerns. And you see, with these concerns is when the advocacy of the rights and welfare of the child can be addressed effectively and very in a very structured manner.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm tempted to ask whether you're also empowering them digitally, because now that we're talking about the digital space, are we empowering them digitally
With
as
caution,
well?
of course.
With caution.
Yeah.
Winnie, allow me to chime in a bit.
Yeah.
I think the challenge that we are having is the normalization of abuse.
Yeah.
When the community sees that it is normal for a child to be physically abused, to be neglected, it's a normal thing for them, then whatever efforts we make around that, they will still not report. So a lot of efforts need to be put
in place,
in creating awareness on violations against children. Let's not normalize abuse.
No, it should not be the case. All right. Even as we bring this to a close, and even as we approach the Day of the African Child, what are some of these conversations that you need to, or you want to see, had on the very day, and even changes made, really, to make sure that in as much as we have come a long way, we have made huge, tremendous progress here in the country, but these are the conversations that you want to hear, during the day, and even before we're launching something tomorrow. Yes.
Tomorrow we are launching the celebrations. We are launching the celebration in Garissa, Garissa University, and it's a week-long that will culminate on the celebration on the 16th of June in Busia, Mungasi Primary School.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it that you want to hear? Conversations that you want to have had, and the changes that need to happen as soon as now.
Conversations that I want to hear is to that caregiver, to that parent.
All right.
Please do not ban the child from accessing the digital device.
Okay.
Try to get equipped with knowledge and skills to be able to parent the child in the digital environment.
All right.
It is critical.
Okay.
Yes.
So do not ban them and all those things. Peter, I really want you to comment on the inequalities that we talked about earlier on, and especially here in the country, and especially when it comes to like education, which I want to believe this is where most kids spend a lot of time, on the internet, sourcing information to help them,
Yes.
when it comes to education. But at the same time, sections of this country are not connected at all, right? So then making sure that we do not infringe this particular right of a child, and that is to access to information. What is it that you'd want to see change now?
Thank you so much. Some things are very high policy that we can only propose.
We cannot,
the ideal situation is that every child has a right to education, whether online or otherwise physical. The best change I would want to see in the country, and of course on the digital space, is
and
that,
as a department as well,
and of course as a parent. Of course I'm not a young parent. The best change I want to see is that can every child, either from Kiunga in Lamu, or even Shimoni in Kwale, or even in Kibish, all Iriret for that matter in Masabit, is able to access the best quality of education.
Okay.
Quality is relative, depending on how you're looking at.
True.
Because how do you tell somebody this is quality when he's sitting down on
a tree,
on a stone?
or maybe there's no tree at all.
Or unfortunately, there might not be a tree. But can we have that quality relative to that place, whereby every child can be able to enjoy the fruits of being a Kenyan? Of course, most children, close to 90%, are enjoying that fruit. The little one that are left is the change we want to make. This change can only come through me and you in terms of conversation, advocacy, making sure that what is left is taken there. How it is going to be taken there is a process. All of us team together as partners, NGOs, government, and the entire fraternity to make sure that the child in that place is able to get the best education relative to that place. Because, I mean, I cannot be able to get a child from a primary school and put that child in Loyagarani primary and expect them to be in the same.
No, absolutely
it
not.
can't work.
Yeah.
But is that education in Loyangarat relative to that particular environment? Of course, in Nairobi they even take a matatu. That place they see a car once a day. All these are things that we need a conversation about. These are the changes we want to make. And as we move forward, this change is very important, not only for the Department of Children's Services, but of course for the entire government, so that when the government delivers effectively. And of course, this is what we dream as government.
All right. As a department, do you have sort of like timelines to see all those things effected so that we have quality? It doesn't matter whether it's connectivity,
fortunately,
whether
we always have a strategic plan. We always have a strategic plan. Governments also are very organized.
Yes.
They have strategic plans. When can we deliver?
Yes.
It's already enshrined in the strategic plan.
Yeah.
And most likely, in the next 4 years, we should be able to deliver quite substantial.
Okay. We will hold you accountable. We will call
no
you
problem.
here.
I'll be again the next 4 years and I'll be able to do that.
All right. Mr. Peter Ubaso, Assistant Director, Children's Services, National Social Protection Secretariat, as well as Giles Kamikio, who is a child protection specialist from Compassion International Kenya, here today to really help us understand how best we can protect the rights of the child, and especially in the digital environment, and ensure that we have access. All right. And we do not leave any child behind. So thank you so much really for coming by today.
Welcome.
I really appreciate your time, and thank you for staying with us. I'm pretty sure that you've learned a lot from the conversation today. So have yourselves a lovely day ahead, and I will see you next week on Monday, same time, same place. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy the Morning Fix tomorrow from 8 to 9. Stay safe. God bless. Goodbye.
Thank you.